Funk art was a movement that came out of California, and it was a ceramic movement that infused clay forms with humor, referencing surrealism and popular culture, everyday life, personal narrative, with sort of irony and satire.
A real kind of counterculture, hippie kind of approach, unrefined, let's say, and definitely aiming at humor and a sense of the artist's hand in the work.
In '67, we were paging through an art magazine, and here's an ad for the Haystack Mountain School of Art. And I thought, well, that's kind of interesting. Why don't we go and find the Haystack, you know? I didn't even know who was teaching there, but one of the people who was teaching the ceramics class was Bob Arneson, who's a big name in California ceramics, considered to be the grandfather of funk. I had already done a significant body of clay work, so I had slides of all of this stuff. I showed my slides, and Bob Arneson came up to me afterwards. He says, God, I really like your work. He says, you've got to come to the University of California. When I went to California, I was already, 30 years old. The program at Davis was, who are you? Tell us who you are and what you're about. That's the kind of work we want to see you do. And I was lucky to be there during that period. Funk really comes out of the beatnik period, funny, low tech. Well, what you didn't want to do is create the finesse that potters tried for. You know, being in ceramics, and everybody had rules and ways of working, and I wasn't doing that. I was always trying to do something different. For example, I would throw these pots, then I would take oxide colors and throw some on the floor, and then I'd kick these pots around. So I created more interesting shapes. That's what people called funk. But it was just me playing around, trying to experiment and find some new way of making an interesting pot.
He's got vegetables on chairs and cucumbers and carrots kind of cuddling on couches, and the vibrancy, the playfulness is what really attracts people to it. And the artists were also attracted to it because it was irreverent to high art. In a way, it was almost kind of thumbing its nose at the established art world. David Gilhooly was a California artist that became known in the 1960s for California funk style. He was kind of infusing humor, playfulness, and satire into his work.
He often created little ceramic figures that were in historical or political kind of scenarios, but the figures are frogs, that kind of thing. So really poking a lot of fun at life and kind of taking art history down maybe a notch or two into regular life, but doing so really intelligently and with a great sense of craft.
David Gilhooly graduated from Davis the year before I got there, and he was always around. He was using the kilns and whatnot, and we became really good buddies. David was, looking for work, and I said, look, the university is looking for someone to replace Jack Soros. Why don't you apply, and get the job? Because I'll be graduating next year, and I'll be going back to Regina, and then we'll have a bit of a California group here, which is what he did. Joe Fafard was teaching at the university too, so he had to deal with Gilhooly. They became good friends, and he influenced Joe tremendously.
Joe Fafard also went to California. He was there as a guest lecturer at the University of California at Davis, and California funk really resonated with him. This was a movement that embraced the idea of drawing from your own life, and so he drew from what he knew, which was growing up on a farm in Saskatchewan.
I am from here, I am part of here, and I work about here. I talk about here. I feel that that's the role of an artist in society, is at least to be connected to his society, his culture, his people, his location, his land.
Joe was part of a group of artists that I related to, and we became peers, and I would include Victor Sikansky and Russell Uricity. I think that we were working in a similar direction and from similar inspiration.
All the congregation of that at the Regina campus just basically sparked a new movement.
It actually changed the whole nature of the art department. It changed the way people thought about universities and how we treat students and what kind of art department we really want. It was an interesting time.
And the focus on clay as a sculptural medium had a huge influence in Saskatchewan. So many artists embraced clay, wanting to experiment and really push its sculptural possibilities. Here is a piece by Russell Uricity. It's called 6-6. This is ceramic work that was really influenced by California funk aesthetic. Very playful. I always feel like there should be a warning with this one. Do not drink and operate machine equipment. It went beyond just California funk, where it sort of has that playful and irreverent nature, to just pushing clay as far as you could.
California funk kind of led to Regina funk, and then those artists kind of went on their own and pursued their own careers with, taking aspects of those two funk movements into their work.
Those were heady times for me. If I was to speak of an influence, I would have to say that came from David Gilhooly in my case. And it was a profound influence, and it was long-lasting. And I took classes from him, and I kind of followed him like a hungry dog goes to a bone, right? I couldn't get enough of the work he was making, and I wanted more than anything to make things like that. I got accepted at graduate school in California, in Sacramento, as a ceramic major. I was lucky enough to be accepted in school there because that part of California was and remains a hotbed of clay or ceramic activity, particularly sculptural ceramics. What I didn't know was that there were also a whole lot of really amazing artists working there at the same time, painters. I started to look at the paintings and was getting excited by the work, and I thought, I want to try some of that.
You can see that he's used glitter on this piece, and he's also, you can see here in the bottom where there's sort of like this flecks of paint. He would have applied that with flicking the paint off of a paintbrush, sort of approach that you would see in more craft-based work. The glitter is also influenced by California funk.
I had been to California, I had been to Montana, I had seen the pop art from New York. I could have come here, I guess, and worked in a Chicago style or a pop art style, but it seemed to me that it was kind of be a little bit like potted plants. What I didn't want to do is I didn't want to be in Regina or in Saskatchewan and working out of art that really didn't come from here. I thought I wanted to be from here and be legitimately part of this culture, part of this world. And that's kind of what I tried to accomplish and continue to work at doing every day.
The influence of people like Vic Chikansky and Russell Uricity and David Thauberger and Joe Fafard is really, really crucial to how Saskatchewan art developed over the latter part of the 20th century.
Art history is a very recent and very limited thing, particularly in Saskatchewan. And I look at those works and I think, yeah, we were all involved in that project. We were kind of making art history right here, right? And I was excited and privileged to be part of that.
If you have program ideas that you'd like to see on Max TV Local On Demand, write us at max.local@sastel.com.